Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, I'm John, this is many a true nerd, and welcome to Instance, which is a lovely, cozy puzzle game, in the style of something like, say, Unpacking. On this occasion, about the simple joy of arranging a photo album, and, oh, that just sounds lovely. And what that means is, at its most basic, arranging of photos chronologically. If we want to, we can examine the photos a bit more closely, and get some information given, these are my family photos, I know who these people are. So, that apparently is my mum Priya, pointing out a prize you can win at a fairground game. So one reasonably assumes that might be first in the order, right there, and the person whose hand she's holding will probably be the chappie who shows up in the rest of these photos. And there we go, my dad Tom, with much longer hair back in these days, very confidently stepping up to the stall. And by the looks of it, yes, despite his best efforts, he was not able to win the giant bunny. Instead, he just won a very small bunny. But honestly, my mum looks delighted anyway, so you should not be sad, Tom. I think actually you did very well right there. But it's not just about arranging the photos correctly. We also get to decorate the photo album if we want to. So as a starting point, we've just got some basic tape and stickers right here. So feel like, yes, we should definitely put a few hearts dotted about this photo, because I think Priya was actually delighted with this outcome. And just basically using tape and stickers, more unlocking as you go, decorate the photo album any way you want to, while simultaneously just clicking on the biscuit tray in order to eat a biscuit, or clicking on your tea in order to have a quick sip of that too, because, obviously you're drinking tea and eating biscuits while doing the photo album, and, okay, I find this game intensely relaxing, this is lovely. So, that was just the tutorial, let's dive into an album proper. On this occasion, my grandfather's written to me, saying he stumbled across some old photos of him and my grandma. You're the spitting image of her. Could you put together a small album for her birthday? So, abso-flipping-a-lutely, granddads. So on this occasion, yeah, we've got plenty more photos, but also lots of clues to work with. As a starting point, we can be pretty confident that yes, the old black and white photos, they're going to be the ones that show up first. So grab all of you, just start bringing you into the photo album. Presumably I'm allowed multiple different flipping pages, or possibly need to fit these all on one double page, I'm not sure, we'll have to see. But yes, one reasonably assumes, based on the order here, we've got ourselves dating, and then let's just, make sure we understand the names here. Ellie and Joe, lovely. That will be the engagement right there, which appears to have taken place in a, garage. During, like, an oil change or something. Not the most romantic spot for a proposal there, Joe. I felt like you could have come up with something a bit better there. Like, honestly, you're lucky she said yes at all. And then, yeah, for the remaining two, obviously, we've got ourselves the flipping wedding photo here. And this one, she's showing off her finger, but just one ring. So that will presumably be the engagement ring, but not the wedding ring. There'd be two rings, traditionally, if they were already married. So that would suggest that, yes, that is before the actual wedding. So pop that there, and pop you in here, though can you even fit on one page? I mean, you just about can, yes. So okay. Back to the colour photos, so one assumes, say this photo here, I was about to say, that'll be my dad, but no, on this occasion, that's my Uncle Frankie. So, right, hang on, at what point in history are we at right now? And there's Uncle Billy, so okay, what I've got so far is all presumably before my dad came along. These would be his two older brothers, and thus my uncles. So photo one, she's actually, yes, while pregnant, knitting the green jumper that this kid is wearing in what's presumably photo two. Then she's pregnant with the second kid knitting the little blue jumper, and then kid number two comes along. Also, I appreciate, by the way, that apparently, yes, every time you start a new album, the biscuit plate refills and your cup of tea fills up again. So, right, do make an effort to, eat all the biscuits while you're doing this photo album. Oh, and because this is, the most chilled out possible variant of a cozy puzzle game, if you don't feel like putting the photos in the right order, you just want to do it any order of your choosing, you can just turn off chronological mode and just arrange the photos however makes you feel happy. So, you know, if you'd rather this was the story of how Ellie and Joe fell so madly in love that they got married only a few months after meeting each other, even though they couldn't even afford a ring, and then later, after working for years to build up his garage business, eventually Joe was able to afford a ring, which he gave to her in the business that paid for it, and as a result, she was very happy to show it off, then that's what you could do. And honestly, I like that story better. I think that's actually quite sweet. Or alternatively, if you want to, you could basically just vandalise your family photos and make it the story of how your grandmother fell in love with a mysterious Birdman. Anyway, once you're done decorating and or vandalising the family album, just click on the happy cat and you can move on to the next thing, though. I do like how you can just, like, you know, use tape in order to tape the photos down, though. John, do not forget to eat the biscuits. There's a good selection of biscuits. Finish those before you move on. And as a result of completing that album, I have unlocked... okay, some sort of token or something. And that's got me some new stickers. So, right, given a bauble, and yes, presents and a red bicycle just showed up. I'm guessing we're about to see a Christmas album. Okay, so it turns out that token isn't used to unlock more stickers. Those just become unlocked as you go. The tokens instead are used to unlock new biscuits and new drinks. So if you want a particular fictional drink while you're decorating your fictional photo album, you could do that. Oh, that's so bloody wholesome. 10 out of 10 Game of the Year. Also, just to be clear, every new chapter does begin with an adorable cat coming up to you while holding an envelope that contains the next set of photos. So, seriously, this game is aggressively adorable. So, naturally, as time goes on, things are gonna get a bit more complicated. Lots more photos, and maybe slightly less obvious clues. And on top of that, not every single photo is as simple as it looks. So this one's just a basic holiday postcard, but it's also got writing on the back. Right, so this is like a postcard that was also being used as a letter to Santa. So, okay, that would place this before Christmas. And given they're wanting a baby for Christmas, that would also suggest this must be written before my dad, presumably the third child, shows up. It might also suggest that, yes, possibly Grandma Ellie was pregnant at such a time as was maybe consistent with giving birth somewhere round Christmas-ish. Like, possibly we're supposed to intuit from that, they were suggesting the baby would be born before Christmas as, like, a Christmas present. Question being, are we dealing with one Christmas or two? Because yes, we've got a pregnant Grandma Ellie in the background in this Christmas, and there's the socks. So right, by the looks of it, this will be shortly after that Christmas letter was written, though if they're opening the presents, this will be Christmas Day. Oh, and we are definitely dealing with multiple flipping Christmases here, because there's my dad, Tom, presumably the youngest with, yeah, the lighter coloured hair, over on the far left. Then we've got, yeah, Frankie and Billy. Frankie was the oldest, and Billy the middle, over on the right there. So, okay, this one is definitely not from the same Christmas. You're from far in the future. Right, so you, buddy, you're going over to, yes, the next page if you'd be so kind. You might be the furthest one far in the future, because that may well be partly what you've got to figure out here. Sometimes you've just been sent a bunch of photos, most of which are part of the same event, some of which not so much. So, okay, what we do have is, oh dear, a crying baby being wrapped up by a rather disappointed looking brother there. So possibly having a baby around was not as fun as he expected in the letter to Santa. Though based on the amount of hair on this baby, that would put that logically as, yeah, like the next Christmas, not the one we're primarily looking at. So you go over here, this is, yeah, Christmas 1 year later. I'm pretty sure given that's blatantly a bike, here, what we do have is the bike in question. And the Christmas letter we got did specifically say, yes, before the baby was born, they were going to put out cookies for Santa, like it was mentioned in Santa's letter. So, yeah, that will presumably be the same Christmas. So, back to page A here. Write the letter, the thing that is referred to in the letter, Christmas morning of, yes, the year just before my dad was born. Though speaking of which, that might put this one the very earliest, because, yeah, hang on. If we go over to Christmas here, just have a look-see at Christmas Day when they were writing the letter about the baby brother, at that point, Ellie is very pregnant. But in this one, she doesn't appear to be pregnant at all. So this might be actually, yeah, Christmas 1 year before the main Christmas. So a user going right here over on the left. And of the remaining ones, right, this is definitely the later Christmas, possibly the same Christmas as the bike McJibble. And yes, with you being pregnant here, that would put these two photos immediately afterwards, possibly in like January the following year. I'm going to work under the assumption, given they found the baby a bit loud and annoying, that possibly what was going on here was, yes, when the baby was born at first, it was a novelty they wanted to hang out with. Pretty soon afterwards, not so much, they realised the baby was a bit annoying, to the extent that, yes, the following Christmas, they just decided, screw it, we're sending the baby back. Okay, well this is just delightful. And honestly, yes, I'm more into solving the photo puzzles than I am decorating, but if you're into like, scrapbooking, journaling, anything of that nature, that's a whole extra layer to this game for you. So okay, next up we've got a request from someone we've not seen before. Aunt Ashley, so presumably, yeah, the partner of one of my two uncles. And there we go, I think that answers that question immediately. Aunt Ashley, Uncle Billy. So right, you're Billy's partner. Now the bigger question, is it possible that yes, this is the same garage we saw earlier? Like, possibly the story I made up in my head wasn't too far off the truth, because possibly this was Grandpa Joe's garage, and when he retired, one of his kids took over. Still, speaking of which, it's presumably going to be the car that's the key to everything on this occasion. So, yeah, the car starts off not looking very good at all. So take the car in a junkyard, just to pop that right there. They're going to be working on the car for quite some time, possibly, hang on. Compare that to, yeah, the car's in pretty much the same state here as it was previously, though, and again, actually, no. In the second one, it's got wheels. So, did they put wheels on to test it, or did they buy it when it was not working well and then took the wheels off to start working on it? That I'm not sure about. You can, by the way, if you want to, just to set the game to tell you when a photo is not in the right order. So you could just, like, get them in the right order straight away and get to decorating. Personally, I prefer the puzzle aspect, so I just turn those off. But yeah, next up, they need to actually work on the car. And yeah, the big bow indicates when the work was done. So, yeah, we've got the dates here. Hang about, just to bring you to the end, my friend. Lovely. Yeah, we wanted to have a bit of a close look at these guys to figure out what order this might have taken place in. Because by any chances, yes, the popcorn going to be the giveaway. Because yeah, they're in a different car over here. There's a popcorn there as well. By any chance later, was the popcorn already eaten? No, the popcorn's still filled up there. So right, I was wondering whether, yes, the popcorn might be the critical clue. So yeah, did these guys, like, come up to the car and then get in for the group photo? Or were they kicked out so Billy could have some private time with his girlfriends? Beyond that, it's mostly pretty simple. So, yeah, we've got a bow right here, but a bow on the car when it's still inside the garage, versus the other bow photo, that's the car out on the street, so presumably that will be just afterwards. Now these three, that's a bit more on the tricky side, so hang on, have a look-see at you, because this one's got some writing on the back. Like, was this when it was just being pulled in? Then again, actually, the windscreen's fixed on this one, bare minimum. Repair attempt 999, suggesting quite far into the process. So when's this going to be? Well, one, it's after they replace this headlight, which is of interest. This one, however, that one's a bit trickier. Like, yeah, what's there that lets us figure out at what point during the repair process this took place? Because surely this can't have been just like, a single day. Like, we're not using time of a day here. Because, yeah, if this was like, him doing a dedicated day, and then that same day, he, like, fell asleep in the garage or something. Okay, the cat's making, an angry face at me, suggesting it doesn't think I'm correct here. Never mind, the game can be a tiny bit fussy as to, yes, correctly interpreting what order you put the photos in if you just slightly stagger them. So never mind, it turns out, yes, this was indeed a single flipping day. Possibly John. It was the trousers. You knew this was one day because there's the same pattern of stains on the trousers. However, I've decided to rearrange the photos to instead tell the story of how, yes, one day, unfortunately, Aunt Ashley snapped at how much Uncle Billy was obsessed with his car and paid Uncle Frankie to drug the popcorn. In order that, yes, moments later after their escape, Billy fell unconscious and we were able to destroy the car while he was out cold. Aunt Ashley paid us very, very well for this. Oh, and as a result of all the good work I've been doing, I can now afford to give myself a very, very fancy hot chocolate. And a slice of a carrot cake to go with it. Better and better. And okay, we're moving forward in time a bit here because on this occasion, Frankie wants me to make an album of my dad meeting my mom. So presumably, yes, shortly before the fairground incident. So okay, at a glance, what we're seeing here is, yeah, definitely graduation. He's taken up a fair few of the photos, presumably that will be at the end. But also, a fair few photos of my dad working in, presumably at the time, Grandpa Joe's garage. We've also got multiple photos with, yes, notes on the back. So, test with a 0, by the looks of it. Fail, Tom's predictable exam debut. Right. Possibly my dad had to, like, repeat a year or something. And then photo number 2 that's got some sort of a note on it. Tom, once again inside. Oh, did he meet my mom during some sort of tutoring? Paranormal event court. Tom studying. Okay, maybe some sort of tutoring, maybe just a classmate who was kind enough to help him. In fact, we've got more notes here, so, right. First day, here we go. So, right, that one's going to be very early on. Let's just grab that one right now and put that, yes, very early on in the process. There was one more with a note here as well. So, okay. One step closer to graduation. Oh. That'll be exam results in the background people are looking at. Like, the results have been pinned up on the wall. So presumably, this will be after the first time he failed. Like, he failed his first time, then he did a reset, and yeah, he had to pass this in order to graduate. So, right, that is going to be fairly late in the process, because, hang on, just to move you over to here, say, in one of the graduation photos over on this side. Yeah, he's got to fail before he does the tutoring. But yeah, where do a few of these fit in precisely? This one especially. So, yeah. They're all studying. Maybe he started studying a lot harder after he met Priya. So that would possibly mean this was, yeah, maybe ahead of the resets. Because the note on this photo was implying him studying was rare. So that would put that before this, because if he was going to study meetings regularly, it wouldn't have been so remarkable. So right, we'll put you over here for the time being, and then we'll put the study group in the middle. So next up, let's fill up the, yeah, starting bit. So we know this over here was the first day. Then he just sleeps in class, dear oh flipping dear. As a result, fails his first test, shame on you, Tom. And then, yeah, for the last moments here with the graduation, presumably, yeah, she's holding the bouquet here, but they're also both wearing their hats. Meanwhile, here, the hats are gone. So, right, presumably, gives her the bouquet, gets the kiss in return, the hats get tossed up for the tossing the hat photo, and then, yeah, the hats are still gone here, but they're starting to come back down again. So, right, that would be the logical order for the graduation ceremony. Or alternatively, you can use these photos to tell the story of getting a classics degree, where you get a really fancy ceremony, everyone's delighted for you, then it turns out that doesn't really actually help you much in the real world, like, at all. You just sort of stand there while your friends and acquaintances sit there silently judging you. And that's an alternative way of arranging some of these photos. Still, I would say as we wrap up another album, I think you get the point. This here is Instance, and this is just the most chilled out, low stakes puzzling you will ever encounter in your life. You're literally just arranging photos and then, if you feel like it, putting some stickers around it. That's it. That's the entire game. If you don't feel like solving the puzzles, you can just turn the puzzles off in the settings and enjoy arranging photos however you think looks most nice. So, okay. I've had a lovely time doing this today. For the right person in the right mood, this is going to be absolutely flipping wonderful. As I understand it, I've shown you like about maybe a third of the gamer here. There's plenty more to get your teeth into, but I'll leave things off there, so there's plenty more for you to discover. This is also a pretty bloody cheap game, okay? It's smaller, but very reasonably priced, so yes, I would say well worth a look-see, and I will be very much keeping an eye on what this team potentially does next, because oh yeah, if it's anything as chilled out as this, we may well check back in on their next project as well. So hopefully you are looking forward to that. But in the meantime, I've been John, this has been Many a True Nerd, and this has been the delightful Instance. Thank you very much, and goodbye. Were we doing virtual reality, or was that just like a metaphor for lesbian sex? And then he smacked me lightly across the face with the money! What? This is... where is this going? What's happening? We're going to buy a whole new bin, and we're going to write Brendan on it, and we're going to put him in it and toss it off the pier.